Hi, I'm Michelle Rupp, host of AFMC TV. Thank you for joining us. AFMC TV is a place to consider as a healthcare hub. AFMC is a healthcare nonprofit. We specialize in making our lives, businesses, and communities healthy. This space was created to share information with the community. You'll hear from healthcare experts on a broad range of topics. Medical topics like immunizations and telehealth, to lifestyle topics like strengthening a routine or keeping your family hydrated. Our promise to you is to keep you informed in a digital way, providing useful information to you and your family. Again, thank you for joining us and welcome to AFMC TV. About the vaccine. In the next hour, we will
very hard to play. That this video will provide ideas and also make sure
Welcome into this week's edition of AFMC TV. Today's topic, all things COVID. Joining me is Dr. Chad RODGERS. He's our Chief Medical Officer here at AFMC. And Chad, COVID.
Still
here.
It's still here, and it's all we talk about.
It is.
We're all getting kind of COVID fatigue for sure. We thought we had it last year, and it's even worse this year.
It feels like Groundhog's Day. We're just talking about this Delta variant that everyone is familiar with. It seems as though information literally is changing minute by minute. And so what you may say this morning may be outdated after lunch. So let's talk just briefly about the Delta variant. One of the things we're hearing is that as opposed to good old-fashioned COVID, this one really is honing in on children and on students. Right. Are you seeing that in your practice?
Yeah, so definitely we're seeing COVID among much younger populations now. A lot of our older populations, the 60 plus, were kind of in the last round. That's who we sort of saw got very sick. They were very good about getting their vaccinations. But then you have the younger crew under 12 who couldn't get vaccinated.
Still can't.
Can't, right. At this moment can't. Hopefully by the end of September, we'll have something, or maybe early fall. But those kids couldn't get vaccinated. So again, they can get infected. Now, last round, they didn't really get that sick, but now we're seeing a lot more hospitalizations related to COVID, a lot more kids who are ending up in the ICU, and a lot more deaths from COVID in children. So it's it's pretty frightening, but still not as much as older people, but still very rare in the younger crew.
The vaccine for those 12 and older didn't get some really good publicity.
Right.
A lot of concerns about developing cardiac issues. And so go ahead and speak to that.
Yeah, so one of the things we saw among children, especially young teenagers, is myocarditis. So myocarditis is an inflammation of the heart muscle and the tissues around it. So they kind of pulled back and they looked at the vaccine because, they were always looking at vaccine safety because they want to make sure that the benefits of the vaccine are greater than the risks of the vaccine. But we do know that with COVID itself, the infection, those kids can get a really severe myocarditis. And that's what you see, the bad inflammation of the heart and then of the lungs. And that's what kids get really sick from. So the vaccine, when they saw the inflammation of the heart, it actually, all those kids did fine. They had a little bit of chest pain and shortness of breath. It all resolved, and there were no deaths associated with the vaccine.
That's frightening, though, just to think of a child having chest pains and shortness of breath.
Yeah. And as a parent, it's kind of,
even more frightening.
Even more frightening, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we are on the cusp of the school year. And so as we saw last year with COVID, we do the roller coaster and then we start to go down. Have we peaked on this Delta variant and then we'll start to go down until, let's see, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon rolls around in December?
Right. So we're going back to school. I don't think we're out of the woods yet at all. I think, in fact, you're going to probably see a little bit more of an increase. But I think if people kind of go back to doing the things that they're supposed to do, so people who can get vaccinated, will protect children who cannot. If we can get a vaccination for the kids, in the fall, that will really provide another layer of protection. But really wearing those masks, doing the distancing, and I think, we all kind of have to be conscious. We definitely don't want to shut things down again. I think we all kind of learned that wasn't good for the kids. It wasn't good for us. Certainly great benefits of being in school compared to being virtual. But so I think, everybody taking the steps that they can to be safe, wear their masks, get vaccinated if you can.
All right, great advice.
Yeah.
Dr. Chad, thanks as always for coming in.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle.
I'm joined now with Dr. KRISTY Bondurant. She is AFMC's epidemiologist. Dr. Bondurant, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So we're talking about COVID, and the school year is upon us, and it seems that information is changing literally by the minute when it comes to how to handle this year's semester. So one question I wanted to ask is just, what are some precautions that students who are returning can take?
Right. So what we'd like to encourage everyone to do is to get vaccinated. And we know that offers a great deal of protection for any severe disease and then hospitalizations and deaths. It's important for children as much as it is for adults. We'd also like to encourage masking. It is really important right now with the Delta variant going through for anyone, those that are vaccinated or unvaccinated, to mask. And to continue to, watch our distance and wash our hands. All of those are important precautions to take for the school year.
What about the kiddos who are under the age of 12?
So for those, very important that they mask. We highly encourage them to have masks to be able to protect themselves from getting any disease, but then also for passing it to others. We know that, kids under 12 like to do a lot of things together, play at recess, interact at lunchtime. They're very interactive in the classroom. So again, it's really important for them to utilize masks if that's possible.
And are we still washing hands and hand sanitizing? And because I would suspect, it's hard for kids to keep a mask on under the age of 12. It's hard for adults to keep them on, let's be honest. But especially kids wanting to tug and rip it off, and I don't want this, and
Yeah.
So we continue to then encourage hand washing.
Absolutely, yes. And I mean, even with teenagers, I watch my teenagers touch their mask all day long. So any child under 12, yes, they're going to be touching their mask, and they may, we've encouraged them to cough into their elbow, but they may still use their hand to cough into. So any way that we can reduce them passing, any disease along by washing those hands, it's definitely an important process as well.
You're a mom, you've got kids. What are some of the ways that you've been able to not only encourage, but been successful at getting your kids to wear their mask, or just remember, cough in your elbow, that kind of thing?
So we have open and honest discussions at our house. We try not to base those off of fear. There's no point in trying to scare them, but just to give them the facts, to talk to them. Many times we talk to them, like adults, how we would have a conversation of this is what we're doing. This is how we're handling it. This is what we would encourage you to do. They are very cautious and have been very willing to wear masks because we wear our masks. We model it for them. But that modeling and those open conversations are so important to have, to be able to help our kids feel comfortable with some of these actions that we're asking them to take that, weren't our norms before.
Sure. And as it stands today, and we realize that could change by this afternoon, the guidance is still, even if you are vaccinated, still wear your mask. That's got to be hard, though, I would think, for some people, particularly if they thought, well, that's kind of why I got the vaccine in the first place.
Oh, yeah. And it's definitely a conversation where you kind of meet people where they are, and just try to let them know, again, this is about severe disease and protecting people from hospitalizations, protecting people from death. And I'll have to say that was a conversation we actually had to have with my daughter, because she was, well, I'm vaccinated. I can do, this, that, or the other. And we're like, well, in certain situations, we'd still like you to wear your mask. And we went through that process with her. And, it took a few times of having that conversation before it really clicked with her. But it was just important to be able to again, be open, honest, and be able to give those facts and take the judgment out. I think that's something that is really important, is to leave that on the table and keep it with, this is an important step we'd like you to take, and here's how we're doing the same.
All right. Great advice, Dr. Bondurant. Thanks so much for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Heather Chapman-Henry joins me now. She's a licensed social worker. And Heather, first of all, this whole show, we've been talking about COVID. We've been talking about students. We are on the cusp of the new school year.
Right.
Guidance is changing literally every 30 seconds. But one thing that I think we do know that is certain is school is going to start.
Right.
You are going to have kids going back to the classroom.
Right.
You may have some kids who are wearing masks. You may have some kids that are not wearing masks. We also know that children aren't always kind.
Right.
So what happens when a child comes home and says, Mom, they ganged up on me at school on the playground today and wanted to know why I was wearing a mask, or they ganged up on me and wanted to know why I wasn't wearing a mask.
Right.
What do you, as a parent, that's wrenching to hear.
It is. It's hard.
How do you then tell your child, no, baby, you can't punch every single one of them. We don't do that. No.
You'd like to, but yeah.
How do you guide them? What do you say?
I think one of the things that stands out for me is that none of us really know exactly how to navigate all this. We really don't. And parents are under lots of stress and strain, and so are the kids. And so I think the first thing I say to the kid is, what do you think we should do? What do you want to do? Giving the kids a little bit of control in a world right now where nothing seems to be in control, and ask them, do you need me to help with anything? Because I think sometimes kids just want to talk about what happened that day.
Oh, that's good.
And how hard it is. And we leap to problem solvers right away. I know I do with my kids.
You're calling the teacher. You're calling the principal.
Yeah, do the email. And so putting it back on the kid to say, oh, that must be so hard. First acknowledging how hard that is and how awful that must have been. And then what do you think we ought to do? And if they're like, I have no idea, that's why I'm telling you, that's why I'm asking you, then kind of say, okay, well, let's create a plan. Let's see if we, who did you talk to about it? Do you want to talk to anybody about it? School counselors are incredible. And just talking to the school counselor doesn't mean it goes back to the kids that were bullying or to the principal or anything like that. It can be just say to the kid, what do you think about sitting down with the school counselor and getting some feedback on what we ought to do? And if the kid's like, no, I don't want anyone to know, then okay, well, let's try to think of some options and some things you might be able to say. Because a lot of kids don't want to get anyone else involved because they say, it might make it worse.
Right.
So that's what I would say is first acknowledge how the kid feels and how hard that is, and then have them help with some of the problem solving. Because we don't know, again, telling the kid, like, I don't really know how to navigate this. That's hard. What do you think we ought to do? And kids sometimes are like, whoa, they're asking me what I want to do instead of just telling me. I think that can be really powerful.
My last question will be just from and it kind of parallels with the social side of it. You've got kids who had to be in school last year. They could not be virtual for whatever reason.
Sure.
You had students who were virtual for various reasons. And now we're going to put all the jelly beans in the same container together.
Right.
And so you're going to have some, that maybe they were straight A students in when they were in the classroom, and then they were virtual, and then they come back and realize, they failed a test for the first time in their lives,
right.
Or, the academic level, they're the separation between that in-person learning versus the virtual learning. Yeah. How do you begin to address that and kind of embrace it and move past it?
Yeah, I think that's so hard. We saw kids who did better virtually because they could kind of go at their own pace, and they may have had somebody there to kind of help them and coach them. And then we saw kids, who did a lot worse, like you said, who just that format isn't what they needed. They needed more in-person, face-to-face, writing things down, more kinesthetic, stuff. And so again, I would say to the kid, reflecting the feeling first, that must be so hard. It's going to be an adjustment for you. I don't want you to expect yourself to do it perfectly right away. And what do you think might help? Do you want to send an email to the teacher? Do you want to, practice some of these things with me? A lot of parents are just stretched so thin right now.
We all are.
Yeah, we all are. Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, looking back to the kid about what they think is going to help, but helping them to understand that we're all different kinds of learners, and you may have done worse because it was an online format. And so we're going to hunker down and just kind of power through this year. Or if they did better with the online format, what can we do that might supplement? I know kids right now are really into looking things up like on YouTube and Khan Academy. Kids are so resourceful. That's a way for us to kind of spin it with, okay, what are some online resources you could find that might help you in your learning if they did really well with the virtual stuff?
Sure.
And kids are really incredible problem solvers. So just, again, okay, what do you think might help? Let's get a plan. Let's do what we can to make this work for you this year. And you're not going to do it perfectly. And we're going to just kind of learn as we go.
And that's okay. We're just going to do our best.
Yeah. Normalizing it for them, making them feel. And I think parents sometimes, and I do this, we put our own fears on our kids. Mm-hmm. And when some of them aren't even really scared. They're like, I'm actually okay with this. I'm looking forward to going back to school. I think it's going to be an adjustment, but I'll be okay. But we're just like white knuckling it like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? So we have to really breathe and pace ourselves and not put our own fears and anxiety on our kids too. I think that's really important.
All right. Heather, thank you.
Sure.
That's such valuable information. And I hope you'll come back to the show. We could definitely tap you for many other topics for sure.
That'd be great.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next Wednesday. Have a great week.